The Israeli Defense Force has gone on high alert following the loss of control within the country. The White House has released a statement regarding the ongoing protests and civil unrest across Israel tonight due to the firing of the defense minister. Whoa! What? Wait, why? Israel firing defense minister. Why do countries do things without letting me know beforehand? Yeah, it was Netanyahu. Yep. I bet the defense minister, the defense minister spoke out against him. Yeah. Netanyahu is currently trying to turn Israel into an actual honest-to-God dictatorship. It's like, it's not, like, that's not ambiguous or a euphemism or anything else. It is just explicitly the thing that is happening. He formed he formed an alliance with, like, ultra-far-right Israeli political factions and has been working to prevent, he's been working to push through judicial reform that would basically give, like, him all the power. Tens of thousands of Israelis poured into the streets of cities across the country on Sunday night after Netanyahu abruptly fired his defense minister for challenging the Israeli leader's judicial overhaul plan. Israeli unions have agreed to a general strike. Okay, that's the real kicker. Protests on their own don't do much. General strikes do. Largest protest in Israel's history. Holy shit. A general strike and businesses have agreed to keep paying the workers. Wait, really? Whoa. All the country's labor unions and business community have jointly agreed to a paid general strike? When does that ever happen? This is literally like the proletariat and the bourgeois standing up and shaking hands over stuff. Why? What? All universities in the country will close to upheaval tomorrow in Israel. I feel like the only thing Netanyahu can do is send in the IDF. That's it. Like it just has to turn into a bloodbath for him. What else could he possibly do? A general strike collapses countries. Like that's it. That's the only thing he could do. It really depends which way the police go. The police are probably sympathetic to Netanyahu because that's typically how these things go. They're closing for the holiday, not the protest. All the countries' labor business community jointly agreed to a general strike. General strike? I think a general strike is a general strike. I don't think it's because of a holiday. Do fascist takeovers usually work without the bosses? I could be totally off on this, but if I understand correctly, like, Vaush gets his news from Twitter. Well, I found out about this 5 minutes ago, so yeah, so far that's the case. The police have joined the protests too. Oh, reports now that police officers in the city of Ra'anana are joining the protesters with flags. God damn, the police didn't stop the protests? Holy shit, that's like actually a really big deal. So I think the thing is with like the Israeli business class, like, Israel is a very invested in country. The country of Israel is really small. Like, Israel has very strong business connections with other Western countries, and it has to, because Israel is, like, really small on its own. So there's, like, a very outsized kind of, like, international engagement. And as a product of that, I think that, like, the companies might be a little bit more, like... Do you remember, it was, like, a month ago, and we read an article. We read about how there were like business groups that were saying that people should divest from Israel, which is not something that businesses typically talk about, you know? Is this a reason for countries like the US to drop financial/military support for Israel, or the IDF need to start shooting? No, America would never drop aid over the, like, protests. If the IDF were ordered to start, like, I don't know, firing on civilians or breaking the general strike or something like that, I think that might actually be enough to even prompt Biden to say something, like to actually do something about it. I don't know, though. Around 6% of Israel's population is protesting. Sheesh. The U.S. is already telling Bibi to back down. Yeah, the question is, what do we do if he doesn't, right? Not that I'm saying it'll happen, but do you think an Israeli civil war would be a net good or bad? This won't be a civil war situation. If you mean like ousting of Netanyahu, Netanyahu is basically like the worst guy. So I feel I can't imagine things getting worse without Netanyahu. If he was ousted, I don't know if it would mean anything better for the Palestinians, but I do think it would prevent, like, it would be better than the alternative. He's like Hitler but Jewish. Yes, he is indeed Jitler. It is true. There are people worse than Netanyahu, like Ben Gvir. Yeah, well, there's always someone worse, but I don't think anyone else, like, I feel like his ousting would be a good thing. Man, whatever happens down there, if things work out, I really hope the Israeli people understand that, like, there is a direct connection between what Netanyahu is doing to their country and what Netanyahu has been doing to the Palestinians. Like, there is a direct one-to-one line between the dehumanizing, fascist, genocidal rhetoric that has been employed against Palestinians for decades to facilitate their ethnic cleansing by Netanyahu and others, and what's happening now. If they do all this and it's like, okay, we've ousted that fascist Netanyahu, time to continue, like, his legacy by continuing to attack the Palestinians. Like, yeah, you know. Kind of crazy how they've been fear-mongering over Palestinians this entire time, and then, as nobody could have predicted, wow, it turned out that the Israeli fascists were actually the greatest threat to the Israeli people, and not Palestinians, the people with no power or money that are holed up in a concentration camp. Who could have thought it would actually be the ultra-powerful, corrupt fascists? Netanyahu's government is pushing for a parliamentary vote this week in a centerpiece, the overhaul, a law that would give the governing coalition the final say over all judicial appointment. Yeah, yeah, we saw this. So the law is this, the proposed law is the same now as it was when we last looked. There hasn't been an alteration. Purely from like an internal optics perspective, I think it's a pretty good thing that these protesters are wielding Israeli flags, because it'll make it a lot more difficult for the ultra-nationalist conservative Israelis to point to them and go, oh, they're anti-Israeli, oh, they're anti-Zionist, oh, they're, you know, whatever. It's not a revolutionary protest. Like, they're not trying to fundamentally change Israel. They're just resisting Netanyahu here. I would say actually one of the closest parallels that I can think of here would have been Euromaidan in Ukraine, when Yanukovych was ousted after trying to pass a bunch of, what are they called, the black protest laws or something, where like they were so bad and so authoritarian that even his own government refused to pass all of them, and then he got ousted. Of course, that ended with like the good end, which was that he left, you know? So also Netanyahu is a lot worse than Yanukovych. Is what's happening good or bad? What the protests are good. Not really. Yanukovych has used his private police to bully the entire parliament. Yeah, I know. Like, Yanukovych was really bad. It's just I think Netanyahu really genuinely does want to kill every Palestinian. I genuinely think that. So I don't know. I mean, we're talking like Hitler levels here of like maybe like 0.6 to 0.75. I don't know. We're dealing in Hitler ratios, and I don't have a calculator on hand. I'm wondering what the Palestinians have to say about all this. They'll take the side of the protesters. Okay, yeah, so the statement from the White House. We are deeply concerned by today's developments out of Israel, which further underscore the urgent need for compromise. As the president recently discussed with Prime Minister Netanyahu, democratic values have always been and must remain a hallmark of the U.S.-Israel relationship. Ha ha. Democratic societies are strengthened by checks and balances. We continue to strongly urge Israeli leaders to find a compromise as soon as possible. We believe that is the best path for Israel and all its citizens. U.S. support for Israel's security and democracy remains ironclad. Right, of course, because we always have to, we have to end for that. Well, security and democracy, I guess. Let me see if I can find anything. The real question is what the IDF does at this point, right? Like, that's the main... Wow. Look at all those people. The IDF is basically normal Israeli citizens because they have mandatory service, yeah? Yes. It basically means that every Israeli citizen gets like a free dose of military propaganda, but I'm not entirely sure if that would mean there'd be a greater sympathy within the military. I'm not sure. I genuinely, I have no idea. I couldn't even guess. It would be really nice if they didn't shoot protesters. Oh my God, Mehdi Hassan. On one hand, I'm glad to see so many Israelis protesting their far-right government's attempt to turn Israel into a dictatorship. On the other hand, I'm wondering where all their protests were over West Bank Palestinians living under an Israeli dictatorship for over 50 years. True! This is what happens when you normalize authoritarianism and ethnic exclusion to a population, you know? You make them weak to it. IDF reservists are one of the major opponents to Netanyahu. Is that true? IDF chief warns Netanyahu that reservist protest refusals could spread in military. Halevi tells PM's army operational capacity could be harmed if trend expands, a concern echoed by Defense Minister Gallant, who's now been fired, who calls for compromise and judicial overhaul. That's interesting. The fact that they fired the defense minister probably makes a lot of people in the military angry. Like, people, generally when people sign up for the military, they like to think they're standing for something more than just like one politician. So if like they see their main guy get ousted because he disagreed with Netanyahu, that probably doesn't make the people in the military feel very, I don't know, very oorah Marines, to borrow a phrase. I searched for live streams in Hebrew. Oh, thank you. Also found nothing live. That is really weird. I heard some of the military got permission to go protest outside of military uniform. They were given permission by their COs. Well, that was nice of them. The IDF Air Force is not going to training to protest this as well. Dude, really? Oh my God. Israel Air Force reservists skipped training as protest against Netanyahu's reforms. Dude. Oh, this is from the 5th of March. Okay, so this was even before the defense minister got fired. So this would have been like, this is just like general dislike, you know. Holy shit. All of this is being done just so we can skip corruption charges. Insane. Yeah, I think a better question would be, where are the hardline Netanyahu supporters? The kind of people who would support him even right now, you know? Like, Donald Trump or DeSantis could do a coup and US cops would still support him, right? Like, where is that? It's cops probably? What, you know, what's going on over there? There are some hardline people, I'm sure, but they need to be powerful, otherwise their support doesn't matter. Shouldn't you know everything? No, that's not actually how my brain works. I get information the same way other people do. It'd be Jewish fundies in the countryside and settlements. I don't know how influential they are on their own. I mean, probably pretty, but Netanyahu presents a clear, immediate, and material danger to the security of the state. The headline of Israel's #1 tabloid. Wow. Imagine a tabloid going after a far-right leader. Wolfenstein font? That's Hebrew. BJ Blazkowicz is Jewish. We'll see how things develop. I'm very interested to see if this turns into something meaningful. I'm going to be very disappointed if, as is so often the case, this just turns into a, like, you know, Netanyahu leaves in disgrace. Like, a lot of people have to go. Yariv Levin, the current Israeli Minister of Justice, has threatened to resign if Prime Minister Netanyahu decides to withdraw his judicial overhaul. Nice. Oh wow, man, that's crazy. And let's take a look at the Wikipedia of this guy. Yeah, I wonder why he has a vested interest in the passage of these laws. Yeah, appointed by Netanyahu, obviously. Levin is just an ideological authoritarian. That's nice. Love that. Despite being affiliated as a secular Jew himself, Levin criticized Reform Jews, especially those living in the U.S., after Israeli government's decision to expand on an egalitarian section of the Western Wall. Levin said that Reform Jews in the U.S. are a dying world. Assimilation is taking place on a vast scale. They are not even tracking this properly in their communities. Oh, what he's talking about right here is miscegenation. He's saying that they're not even keeping their children from Gentiles. He's doing the bad Jew Shapiro thing, Vaush, right? Yeah, but Shapiro, given that he mostly proselytizes to Christians, doesn't say that Jewish people should only marry other Jews, I don't think. He might believe it, but I don't think he says that. Even Jews can be Nazis. Many such cases. Top court says police don't take orders on protests from Ben-Gvir, who slams coup. Ruling follows. This is from the 19th. Incidents where foreign minister instructed police commanders on crowd dispersal methods, highways to be cleared. Nice. Happy to hear that. Levin holds hawkish views with respect to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Wow, really? 57 minutes ago from AP News, Netanyahu delays judicial overhaul after mass protests. Bending to a wave of mass protests, Netanyahu delayed his contentious judicial overhaul plan Monday and said he wanted to avoid civil war by making time to seek a compromise with political opponents. They better not let him get away with this. For those of you who haven't been following, basically, Netanyahu has been pushing for judicial overhaul that would basically give him like complete dictatorial control over the government. And the reason that he's doing this is because he is being there's a charge with corruption. Like his time is nigh. In a fair judicial system, he'll be in prison soon. So he basically just wants to like control the judicial system. It's literally like just dictatorship. It would be a dictatorship. It is so bad that even the IDF was protesting by not doing like training exercises. Businesses have been divesting from Israel. Universities have paused. Like businesses have like gone on strike. There's been a mass strike from the unions. Like literally, like everything in Israel is shutting down. It is an incredibly blatant power grab. Yeah, general strike. Yeah, but like he better not just like delay things. You know, they have to get him. When there's an opportunity to avoid civil war through dialogue, I, as Prime Minister, am taking a timeout for dialogue. Wow, he's so magnanimous. The proposal has plunged Israel into its worst domestic crisis in decades. Business leaders, top economists, and former security chiefs have all come out against the plan, saying it is pushing the country towards an autocracy. Fighter pilots and military reservists have threatened not to report for duty, and the country's currency, the shekel, has tumbled in value. Yeah, what's its current value? Hold on. Tumble might be a slight overstatement. Since the beginning of this stuff, at the beginning of 2023, it goes from a peak of 0.3 USD to... So about a 10% drop. Who actually is on Netanyahu's side? He certainly made a lot of enemies. He fired the defense minister the other day. What's wrong with chat? Oh, I think a lot of people in chat didn't realize that shekels weren't just an alt-right meme. It was the official currency of Israel. 10% is pretty big. No, 10% is pretty big. Yeah, it is, yeah. I didn't think it was that much at first. Yeah, Cezanne didn't know. Before Netanyahu's speech, some 20,000 right-wing Israelis attended a counter-demonstration in support of the prime minister. That demonstration also took place near Parliament and passed without violence. They won't steal the elections from us, read a flyer for an event organized by religious Zionist party. Netanyahu said he was moved by the show of support. Shikma Bessler, one of the leaders of the anti-government protest movement, said the campaign would continue until the legislation is cancelled. Good. Israel's Palestinian citizens have largely sat out the protests. Many say Israel's democracy is tarnished by its military rule over their brethren in the West Bank and the discrimination they themselves face. Even the Biden administration critiqued his move. The Biden administration sent out like a late-night denunciation of Netanyahu firing his defense minister the other day. Ben-Gvir got his own militia in return. What? In exchange, the party says Netanyahu has agreed that the formation of a civil national guard sought by Ben-Gvir to boost public safety. What? Wait, that's what you're getting? Why do you think they're doing this? It's because they're going to continue with the legislation and use this to keep them from getting ousted. They want their own guard because the IDF isn't even that favorable towards them. Why would you? All right, I promise to stop punching you in this bar fight that we're having, okay? And in exchange for me promising to stop punching you, you will let me pick up this gun. Like, that was it? That was the whole article? Is Net that stupid? No, this is to Netanyahu's benefit. It's not Net being stupid, it's the other people. This will be the leader of the National Guard. Yeah, we've gone over this guy. Itamar Ben-Gvir. Can't trust him. Look at him. Look at him. He's smug. He's smiling at you. He's like, yeah, I just got a civil defense guard. Yeah. Basically, the entire article is about him being evil. You guys know the gist. Looks like Israeli Peter Griffin, though. I see it. I see it.